Tiles and Tales of Crows, an artist's take. Number 2, Morrigan's Visit, a true tale. My 12-year-old female body lay in an almost comatose state as I recuperated and rested in my bed in an attempt to deal with life itself as a teenager, assimilate and adapt to farm chores, and grow a quarter-inch overnight. To compound the stress, my brain never stopped thinking about all that the world had to offer, and I had read every word of our set of the 1968 and 69 World Book Encyclopedia, learning the truth about the pagan origins of holidays, different belief systems all over the world, and esoteric writings by Goethe and the like. When I wasn't reading the encyclopedia, I was reading everything that Edgar Allan Poe had ever written, so my curiosity in the mystic and supernatural were really coming to the fore. Alfred Hitchcock's shows and movies were like candy to me, but the scariest one that I had seen was The Birds. It is no wonder that on every Saturday morning I dragged my poor brother out of bed to accompany me in watching the scary Sunrise Theater on Channel 5. I was intrigued by scary things, but too chicken to face them on my own. To add some spice to this natural but disturbing penchant for the unnatural, I held within me the stresses of every teenage girl's life. These terrible teenage female things can cause deep trauma for some, and proper rest is vital if we are to become strong and overcome that stuff. Sometimes, though, even the bed can be no safe place. Most young women have secure rooms where they can sleep with confidence that no one or no thing will come in upon them unannounced. For those that do not have this confidence, my heart goes out to them, because that usually means that some person in their household is a horrid person. In my own personal case, in which my dad and brother did as much as they could to actually avoid me, it meant something else. The night before, as every night before, I had gone to bed in the 200-year-old home in fear. To get to my room, I had to climb a narrow staircase, make my way through my brother's room, and then enter my own, only to have to search for the light switch, a narrow piece of tobacco twine that hung from a light socket in the ceiling. If this socket had been closer to the door, it would have been a dream to find, but it was not. It was centered in the room, over the bed, and on moonless nights I had to reach and stretch myself as far as I could, swinging my outstretched arm toward the ceiling in an effort to locate the invisible cord and not be attacked by the invisible monsters in this most vulnerable position. You see, by day, they hid under the bed where the darkness fed their putridness. But when the light in my room waned, they ventured out into all the darkest places, in the creases of my bedspread, in the joints of the 200-year-old wall boards, and beside the legs of the ends of my bed, where they awaited my return. When the worn tobacco twine cord occasionally broke, that was a special nightmare. One special night, I did manage to turn on my light without being killed by monsters, and ended up being able to turn it off from my bed, climb in under the dark covers, and fall asleep to dream teenage dreams. In the wee hours of the morning, I awoke from my dreamy adventures with Race Bannon. Yes, my first crush was a cartoon character from Johnny Quest cartoons. As quiet but very audible flushes, rushes, and flutters gently pulled me from my awkward dreams. I lay attentively, but I was unable to see very much in the darkened room, though the sun was rising, and it had not yet reached my western windows. I thought that perhaps I'd been mistaken. Maybe the flushes, rushes, and flutters were just parts of my dreams. Had the dreamy me been dancing in a palace in a fancy ball gown as my Cindy Ella Psyche secretly desired? Please do not remind me that my name sounds so much like Cinderella, as I would never accept the mantle of that chargirl or the robe of a princess married to a narcissistic political figure. I closed my eyes again to return to Race Bannon. However, that plan was soon squelched by a fluttering and hushed bang against a window. What in the world was making that sound? I looked but did not see. I lay flat in bed again to prepare for the next sound, and it came soon. Hushed fluttering grew louder and closer to me. In fact, the sound seemed to stop just above my head and to the right. With fear growing inside my palpitating heart, I pulled down the covers, opened my eyes, and looked up behind me to determine the image of the biggest, scariest crow perched on my headboard. He cocked his black head and looked straight at me with dark eyes. A vision of Edgar Allan Poe's Nevermore, Raven, flashed before me and would not retreat. As soon as that nightmare left, left, Hitchcock's The Birds came to mind, and I lost all sanity. I just knew that bird was there to pick my eyes out and leave my bloody eye socket. My poor heart pounded as hard and as fast as it could as I tried to scream the word "Mama," but no sound came from my mouth. I tried to call her once more, but I discovered that I was literally scared speechless. With no idea how to tackle the situation except escape, I decided to protect myself from the monstrous crow by wrapping up in my bedsheet and leaving the room. I had to be careful to leave absolutely no spot uncovered lest the murderous bird find a space to peck me to death. I gathered up the sheet and crawled under it, hearing the bird becoming more restless as he hit the window pretty hard. He offered a pale caw, and though he was probably asking for assistance, I was too stupid to realize that his need outweighed my fear. I managed to leave the room, close the door, find my way down the dark, narrow staircase, and nudge my sleeping mother into consciousness. And after rousing Mother, everything after that was pretty uneventful. My dad just grumbled at my stupidity and inability to think of the solution myself, and Mother preceded me up the stairs. She made her way to my room, and seeing the crow, simply walked over to the window and opened it. The crow, the friend that I never made due to my fear, flew away. He probably thought that I was a crazy person who transformed herself into a ghost as he watched that big pink floral sheet make its way out of the room in a hurry. He probably flew over my head many times wondering why I was just so me. He was probably glad that an older, wiser me had arrived to free him. Whatever he thought, I'm sure that he told his cronies all about it, and I'm sure that he never again ventured into the hole in the attic of that old house, although other types of birds certainly did. Today, my feeling about this experience is one of disappointment in myself. I wish that I had had the maturity and wisdom to simply comfort the poor distressed bird and assure him that I was a friend. I wish that I could have simply spoken softly to him and opened the window for him. I cannot change the past, but I can learn from the situation. And what I learned is that sometimes I'm completely self-absorbed and concerned with my own particular situation to realize that others need help. I also gleaned from this a lesson of language. If someone is cursing a lot or saying something bothersome, something you might not understand, it might not be an attack on me, but instead a plea for help. Today, the crows still frequent the farm, and they look for tender morsels. They bug Mother by purling up her garden seedlings. They especially love her snow peas. They caw at her and never let her forget that they were there before we were. I hope that my old crow had a good life and ate well on the farm, as I am finally able to understand and honor the spirit of the crow and of the Morgan and of the strong women from whom I emerged.